Thank you very much, Michalis. It's certainly heartening to hear an EU official speak in such terms of commending the importance of the UK to global EU, the importance of the UK's reform of the EU over many decades, as well as the commonality of interests. So thank you for that context. Now, we have 20 minutes, at least, for questions and answers. If I could ask you, if you wish to ask a question, to identify yourself, and I will take groups of 3 questions. If you would just indicate in the normal way whether you wish to speak, there is a microphone that we will bring to you so it can be recorded for posterity. Sir, at the back.
Yes, Alistair Carr from Victoria University. My question is to the British High Commissioner, and it's as follows. What can David Cameron learn from his countryman, King Canute?
Athol Mann, member of the Standing Committee of the Institute of International Affairs. How fundamental is it to the European Union that its citizens from any member country can travel with unlimited access right throughout Europe? And can the United Kingdom, as one of its considerations, continue to absorb unlimited numbers of Europeans seeking to enter it?
Is that quite a number of people with not as much money in the UK as they might have supplement their family's money by working in the EU, And given that there appears to be an atmosphere of some bitterness among the poorer elements of the population at the election result, if the weekend's demonstrations are anything to go by, what about the impact of funds remitted by UK workers working in the EU, of which I believe there are some, even though, of course, there are a lot of EU people working in the UK.
Perhaps High Commissioner, would you like to begin?
Thank you. King Canute. I wasn't sure which tide you were going to be talking about there. European or perhaps Scottish. I think I'd drawn some things that Michalis has just said. This isn't a situation that might have occurred, say, 15 years ago if a British Prime Minister had said, we want all of these things, and it might have been against the grain of opinion in Europe. Nearly everything that he's argued for, at least, well, I can't count the numbers, but a large chunk of other European governments are also arguing for the same sort of issues to be aired. The points about the Eurozone, for instance, are not ones that are driven by Britain, but Britain's own economy and prosperity is directly affected by the success of the Eurozone. It's fundamentally in our interest that it works well. But if there are changes to how that's governed that have an impact on the single market and our economic interest, that it's just as important for us to have a say in how that is changed. And that's accepted. I mean, there have been meetings a year or two ago between ourselves and the Germans and other countries in Europe that agreed that whatever the changes that were going to happen needed to take notice of all countries in Europe. So I think to sort of really stretch the metaphor, I'd hope the tide's going the other way, actually. Should I pick up some of these other ones?
Please.
How crucial is freedom of movement, and how can the UK absorb further immigration? It's certainly true, and I think part of the issue behind the polls that John was talking about earlier around opposition to Europe about 3 or 4 years ago was driven as much by economic recession in the UK and by concerns of immigration. So I think immigration has been a far greater issue in the UK than Europe has been. Europe, if you rank the top 10 issues in this election we've just had, Europe's never in the top 10. It's never in the top 10. You go back sort of 25 elections. Immigration certainly is. But it's not an issue perhaps of race as it might have been 40 years ago. It's probably more an issue of access to social goods and housing, an issue that's redolent here as well, education, health. But these aren't issues just that are difficult in the UK, they're across Europe. So I don't actually know the answer to this. I think the answer to how crucial is freedom of movement is very important. It's absolutely critical. And it's one of the bedrocks for Britons who live overseas, going to the next gentleman's question, who live and work freely overseas in Europe. So this will be one of the key areas of discussion. But there's already been European court judgments in the last year which say that it's perfectly legitimate for national governments to restrict access to social security. That is not in clash, that does not clash with the fundamental principle of free movement of people. So there's already a marker there from the legal side that restrictions can be done. So if there are concerns about access to social goods, there could be a way through. And finally, UK remittances, I just don't know the numbers. I'm sorry. I mean, there are hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of Brits living in the European Union. I mean, we get everywhere. So it will, but how much money is sent back to the UK, I just don't know. Sorry.
Thank you. Yeah, perhaps Mihalis can give us some figures on remittances.
No, I don't think I can do that, but I think, first of all, an issue about the freedom of movement. There are 4 freedoms that the pillar of the European Union, which is goods, services, capital, and people. And those are fundamental and they are non-negotiable. So this is quite clear that the European Union will keep those 4 freedoms as part, and I think also they're essential. You cannot speak about an internal market by restricting one of those 4 freedoms. What the High Commissioner just said is something different. I think the EU rules that apply. It doesn't mean that a person from any EU member state can just move to another, say, and I'm unemployed, I need social security, etc. These things, they do not happen as simply. And of course, also we need a little bit to dramatize the debate about the influx of, let's say, there was a big debate about Polish, that they went all around Europe, but also the thing is what they contributed to this, to the country, to the host country, and also what was the demand for this labor, and which also drove these people to move there. But obviously this is a very, very sensitive debate, but I think the legislators and the European Court of Justice have already given a sound indication what are what exactly those freedoms mean. And I'm pretty sure that the debate that will be launched in the couple of years to come, it will help clarify all these issues to the benefit, I think, of all EU citizens. Remittances. I don't have this statistic, but I have to say that in part of the statistics that I gave before, I said that what the Eurozone exports to the EU. But also I didn't say that according to the 2013 statistics, the UK exports to the EU 55% of it is goods and services. So you see also how fundamental is for its own prosperity the European Union, and in a union where it is part of and decides together with.